I am a member of this organization, and as a member, I was volunteered to become the chairman of the museum committee, which comes with the exalted title of Curator of the House. So welcome to DACOR Bacon House. It is, as John said, a community of foreign affairs professionals, and it is worldwide. It began as an association for the United States Foreign Service, but it has expanded into the intelligence community, the academic community, the business, the press. Anyone with a foreign affairs career is welcome. So if that's you, please take a moment and talk with me at some point this evening. But what I wanted to touch on was the Scottish associations of the house. And there are lots of them, so I can't touch them all. This property, before the house was even here, belonged to a gentleman farmer in Maryland at the time named David Burns. He was a Scotsman, and he's recorded in George Washington's diary as the obstinate Mr. Burns, because when it was time to make the new federal city, all of the property owners on this side of the, well, hell, on both sides of the Potomac, but mainly on this side of the Potomac, were being strong-armed to give, in many cases, their property, but at the very least to part with some or all of their properties so that the federal city could be built. Mr. Burns was having none of that. And it took a visit from the great man himself to convince him to do so. His daughter, Marcia Burns, was the heiress and beneficiary of that. So there's one Scottish connection. The other major one that I'll point to has already been pointed to. I hope you all see there in the south parlor the more than life-size portrait of John Murray, the 4th Earl of Dunmore. Lord Dunmore, discussed ably earlier, was the last of the colonial governors of the Dominion of Virginia before we ran him out of rail, out of Williamsburg in the 1770s. So I was at Williamsburg at William and Mary, and when I walked in here for the first time, I said, hey, that's kind of cool. What's Lord Dunmore doing here? And they said, who are you and how do you know who that is? But the association with Williamsburg takes me back. Lord Dunmore, as was discussed, when he was governor of Virginia, he brought his wife here, Lady Dunmore, who is the other portrait there, as far as we know. Could be his daughter-in-law, but in any case, that's Lady Dunmore, and we believe that to be his spouse. They were extremely popular on arrival in Virginia. She had pulled lots of strings because he was already a governor in colonial America, but she said that she would choose to stay behind in London and not go with him to his original appointment, some podunk position in New York. So he wanted to wait for the plum position of Virginia, which was the great colony in North America. So she stayed at court, pulled her strings. She was very well connected, and in fact did get him appointed to Williamsburg. And when he was, she came to join him. They ended up becoming pregnant, and she gave birth to a daughter, which he had just finished Lord Dunmore's war, ostensibly successfully, depending upon who you ask. But his popularity, her popularity as a beautiful, young, noble couple in Virginia, and now the birth of a daughter, the good people of Virginia, through their representatives in the House of Burgesses, came up to him and asked, Your Excellency, please, you have to name this little girl Virginia. If you name your new daughter Virginia, we will give her 100,000 pounds of tobacco when she reaches majority, 21. And being a good Scotsman, he knew a good deal when he heard one, so he said, sure, Virginia it is. And so one of the Murray daughters was named Virginia. Then came the Revolution, they moved on, they returned to Scotland, other places. But the Murray family had a Virginia or Virginius in every generation from that 18th century time until now. And this is called the DACOR Bacon House because Virginia Murray Bacon was the last owner of this house, and it is she who she was the wife of this gentleman here, Congressman Robert Lowe Bacon, who was representative from the North Shore of Long Island, famous for the Davis-Bacon Act. Look it up, labor relations. But Virginia Murray Bacon gave this house to a foundation at the end of her days to ensure that it continued as a venue for statesmanship. She wanted to ensure that there was an elegant space for the type of hosting of ideas that she spent nearly the entire 20th century doing in this place. And here we are doing exactly that. DACOR has symposia and conferences, programs, lunches, receptions, all sorts of things like this that are in the theme of international affairs and world peace, not to put too big a bow on it, but that's what DACOR is and that's what we do, and welcome to Bacon House.